Hey friend, welcome to Healthy by Heather Brown. Do terms like mental health, intermittent fasting, and buzzy wellness words make you feel overwhelmed? If you don't know where to start with loving the life you already have and letting your good things grow until they become daily habits, I got you, mama. So join me as we unpack what it looks like to live a life well loved and redefine a new approach to health from the inside out. Think of this space as your girlfriend's group text with the occasional dad joke and point of view from my Yankee hubby, Eric. We promise to give you key takeaways that you can implement right away to pursue health in your mind, body, and soul because God made us that way. Don't stress. Let's hop on this Hot Mess Express together. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of Healthy by Heather Brown. I'm so excited to be chatting with you guys today. And y'all, I just can't even believe we're like hurtling into the holiday season. And I know all the mamas are going to need to be caffeinated and all the things. So I brought in the perfect guest for today. And that is Miss Allie Wing with Oobli. So Allie, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me. I'm excited to be here. And I can't believe it's October either. So I'm with you.
I mean, like literally what? I'm like, where did this year go? Are you kidding me?
Fast.
It's wild. So Allie, tell everybody a little bit about you, the company you work for, how long you've been there. And I'm just so excited for my listeners to learn all about you guys as well, since I've been trying it out.
Well, thank you. My name's Allie, and I joined Oobli and this cool team of scientists about 2 years ago to do what I think is kind of the holy trinity of my career, if you will. I have spent a career focused on the intersection of how technology can help unlock parts of healthy living, and that's kind of where I've spent my career, but I've never sort of happened upon one that just checks so many boxes. So let me tell you what we're doing with Oobli sweet proteins. Sweet proteins are from plants and berries that grew up along the equator, and we figured out how to actually produce them through fermentation, a lot like how we do wine or beer or cheese, which is important because otherwise they wouldn't be affordable for people or any access to really special plants. And what they do is they can actually be a rehabilitation tool for sugar, meaning we can take sugar out and replace them with sweet proteins. They're really good at tricking us to think it's sugar. And so, they're a lot better at a sugar alternative than any sugar alternatives I've ever met. But most importantly, because they're a protein, they operate through your body just like a protein, not like a small molecule or a carbohydrate or a carbohydrate-like, meaning they don't interact with your blood sugar. They don't interact with your gut microbiome. They're just net positive for your body. So that's the big opportunity. Why are we doing it? We want to actually bend the global health curve in obesity and diabetes. And we think sugar is a totally natural thing to crave, but we weren't designed to have it as recklessly abundant as it is in our diet today.
Absolutely. Well, for people that are like, okay, she's talking about Oobli and she's talking about sugar proteins, like, whoa, what? So what Allie is talking about though, is that Oobli makes a tea to like break it down. And I'm in Birmingham, Alabama. And so we all know how Southerners feel about their tea. So tell them, Allie, how would you guys say that it tastes? How would you say that you guys landed on doing tea? And maybe just a little bit about like the proportions of like, do you have a sweet tea? Do you have an unsweet tea? Just give them, if they've never heard of it before. And where
I love that you asked me that. You're right. We're a sweet protein platform company, but our first products are out, and our first product is our sweet tea. And our sweet tea, we really wanted to come out with not just a product that isn't normally very sweet, but what are people used to having something sweet with, right? And What we're super excited about is we have 3 SKUs. We'll actually have the 4th flavor, our Arnie P, our Arnold Palmer, coming in next month. But we have a mango yuzu on a green tea, and then we have 2 black tea ones, a peach and a lemon. And what's exciting about them is on a sweetness equivalency. So they're sweeter than, let's say, an Honest or a Just tea, but they're not going to be quite as sweet as a Snapple, but they have 75% less sugar in them. And we do that by taking the sugar out and putting sweet proteins in. Each of our teas still has some sugar because they're fruit forward. So they have 5 grams of the fruits that are in them. So lemon or mango or peach. And they have about 1.5 grams of agave. We could have used any sugar for a bunch of reasons on a small basis. We chose to use it. We just try to use as natural ingredients as we can. And that's really just to help you with the upfront sweetness, because we just want you to have a great tasting sweet tea. They just happen to be 75% reduced sugar and better for you. They shouldn't taste like a reduced sugar tea.
Yes. Okay. I love it. So do you mind me asking, where are y'all based out of? Where is your offices?
We're in Northern California.
Okay.
We're kind of in between UC Berkeley and UC Davis, which is kind of the capital, if you will, of biotech meets agriculture. And that's really a marriage of what we're doing, because our sweet proteins actually come from fruits and berries. So they're plant-based, but the only way to make them possible to have them in foods was for us to use what's called precision fermentation, which again is a little bit like brewing beer. It's an old technology in some ways in food, but we're using new tools so that we could make this kind of special ingredient be this replacement available to everybody.
Wow, that's awesome. Well, I'm curious because I am in the South. Where are y'all seeing most people start picking this up first? And if they do live here, like I have not seen it yet in stores. So can people just order it on Amazon, or how does that work?
Yes, thank you. And your tea question is a great one. We do love our Southern friends, and we do think sweet tea is in the U.S. Very Southern. But when you look at the world, the biggest world trend for young people is actually drinking more teas, right? Look at boba tea chains. And so we really think of the problem we're trying to solve is not just US, it's world. And that's what led us to teas. Then we started looking at tea profiles, and we just knew there's this big demand to have something that's sweet and delicious that's not a soda, right? So that's what led us there. And we think we will have all sorts of teas when we get farther, but we just launched this summer. And so the biggest, easiest place to find us nationally is either at Oobli.com. Of course, we make that available also in subscription with free shipping. So if you love it and you want to replenish on it, it's really easy to do that and not have to pay for shipping. We're also available on places like Amazon, and we're in Prime Marketplace. So you can, if you prefer your Prime shopping, you can do us through there. We're in a lot of marketplaces online. And because we just launched this first summer, we really just launched in LA. We just needed to pick a market to do it in the summer where we were close and could do a lot of different activities. So we're in about 75 retailers there. But if you're looking for us, if you check out Oobli.com, we have a store locator, and we are now busy expanding throughout the country. So I hope that you will find us in the South soon. The only place I can say right now is we're in Showfields in Miami.
Okay, so. Cool. Well, give me, I mean, I'm just going to back it up a little bit, because I know some of my listeners are like, yes, they're diehard healthy fanatics, and other ones are like, oh, I just like Heather, and like I follow her on Instagram, and I kind of want to live healthy, but I don't really know why I should be drinking this versus soda. Will you just give us like a little bit of like a general education maybe on sugars, some of the negative health impacts that they can have, and then maybe like an encouraging word about maybe trying Oobli instead of sodas?
I love that question. The bottom line is, if you look at sort of the global health trends over the last 25 years, they don't tell a very good story.
Yeah, I wish I could see my face right now. I'm like, oh, yeah, it's true.
Yeah, it's tough. It's over 40% obesity. It's almost a third diabetic, pre-diabetic in the U.S. We are not alone in that. That's true throughout Latin America. That's true for our largest country in the world, in India. It's true for most of southern China. Even a country like Japan, that we think of as a relatively healthy diet, is almost it's almost 20% now pre-diabetic. And 25 years ago, that just wasn't the case. If you drill down on that even deeper, you'd see that it's the kids' numbers that really scare us. We used to have 1% of our kids that were obese or pre-diabetic, and those are starting in the US to be close to 20%. So they're really, really scary numbers. What you have to know is that it's 100% normal biology to crave sugar. Nobody should feel bad about it. So that's my first kind words to everybody. It is normal to have a sweet tooth. We survived as a species in part because of our sweet tooth. So don't feel bad. It's healthy. It's normal. And having some sugar is like anything. Some of anything is just fine. The problem is actually all the hidden sugars in our diet today. And I'm never going to say that sugar is the sole reason we have obesity and diabetes, but it's a chief culprit. And if you look at any of the science around this, the things that really drive inflammation are creating a lot of these problems, and sugar is just a primary driver of that. And if you look at our food system over the last 25 years, what's really changed is there's just a lot more sugar in all of our choices. The example I always like to give is, if you had a yogurt for breakfast 20 years ago versus had it today is kind of like having a dessert in terms of the amount of sugar. The average consumer today is having about 3 times of our daily the average American consumer is having about 3 times our daily recommended amount of sugar. And some of that, it really comes from all these places you didn't expect you were getting a ton more sugar than you used to. If we gave you a sugar from 1975 versus today, they would taste very different in sweetness level. So little over little, we've kind of liked a little bit more. Think about it yourself. And I know I'm just like all of you. I have my own sweet tooth, so I have to manage my own sort of desires on this. Once you start having sugar, you want a little more, right? It's hard to get yourself off when you come off sugar. So what's happened in our food system is over the years, the demand is always to sell more. Well, if you like a little bit more and we give you a little bit more all the time, things sell more. Unfortunately, that has turned into kind of a reckless abundance within our food system. And it's really the culprits of where we don't expect it. It's in our salad dressings and it's in our breads. It's in our yogurts. It's not just remembering that you're not going to order dessert.
Everything.
It's all that other stuff that's really hard. So that's where we see this big opportunity for sweet proteins is to really, what I like to say, rehabilitate our food to give you, if the taste is what it is, we all like the sweets. We're not going to ask you to make a change. We know that's where our taste profiles are. We're not really good at changing behavior. So even in our cheese, we're just trying to give you the sweet tea you want. But what we're trying to do is give it 70 to 80% less sugar so you can get back to living with your body feeling as good as your taste was, right? Yeah. And those need to be more distinct than they are today.
So you talked a little bit about some of the, things that you might feel when you're having too much sugar. You talked about you can struggle more with obesity. You mentioned the word inflammation. Is there anything else that you see as a negative side effect, maybe personally and in y'all's research for when people are consuming too much sugar that they would feel so that moms can be like, oh, I didn't know that would be from too much sugar?
I mean, there's a fundamental science that's going on with sugar and sugar alternatives, which is in the scientific world. And if I take you all back to biology 101, they're small molecules versus large molecules like proteins. And that's that they give you the hit in your mouth. When you eat anything that has sugar or sugar alternatives, it's an immediate hit. And that we of course recognize that mentally and in our taste buds. But importantly, when they move through your whole digestive system and into your gut microbiome, they're interacting with your metabolic system and they're triggering blood sugar increases and decreases, which is, of course, triggering insulin. Well, that's highs and lows. That's the same thing we see as moms and our kids. A kid gets a lot around Halloween and then they crash, right? Well, you're even getting versions of it if you're not mom and you're not overdosing on Halloween, but you're having too much in your lunch. You're going to kind of feel highs and lows during your day that don't have to be there. They're actually just from you getting better moderation with actually how you get your sweets and your tastes all day long. And so that's one of the things we're really trying to go after is that there's an emotional and physical health that comes from your metabolic system overworking, right? And it's over triggering insulin throughout the day. And we want to eliminate a lot of that, right? Because that's adding to a slippery slope of problems.
Yes. And I also think that is especially noteworthy when you think about the amount of energy that is required of you mamas when we're going into the holiday season. It's a lot. So if I could challenge y'all, I would say, if you are one of those die hard, you're like, I got to have my Diet Coke every day, or I'm having 5 a day. I would love to challenge y'all to try to back it off to saying, can I get down to where I treat myself to 1 Coke a week? Because I know some of you are going to say, I can't give it up. I know I can't give it up yet. But even if you just looked at starting to look for different alternatives, like an Oobli tea or a water with lemon or a unsweet tea, even I'm drinking a matcha tea right now. I had an Oobli last night, but it's just really important that you start to get in tune with your body and noticing how you're feeling. Do you feel better when you drink less Cokes? Because if you don't realize that cause and effect, how can you ever really know, oh, I actually feel terrible with the 10 Diet Cokes a day. Is it worth it to maybe look for some changes here?
I think that's great advice. And I would say the worst part of kind of the way our modern diets have evolved is we have kind of disintermediated a connection between what we eat and how we feel. And the more you can focus on bringing that together, the more you can make that part of how you won't actually need us to tell you to reduce sugar. You'll be looking for it because you'll know that makes you feel better. Then the question becomes, how do I get things that taste good that have a good alternative for sugar. And that's where I think proteins really can come in. They'll taste like the taste you want, but they're a whole different game changer. Because the footnote I would say beyond not feeling good is we now know that a lot of sugar alternatives, particularly a lot in our sodas, they're not just not what are going to make you feel good, and they're not just triggering your blood sugar. A lot of them are coming out as very carcinogenic or potentially very toxic to your system. And so if you are struggling at all with your weight and you're predisposed to some of those risk factors, you're actually increasing your risk factors on things like stroke. And so what I want you to know is that step number one is let's listen to our bodies, see if we can get better modulation. Step number two is how do we find the joy, but sort of among the choices, make the better choices. And I think there's really clear pathways now on some of not just the natural approaches, but the ones that get you out of some of those small molecule sugar alternatives that we know haven't been traditionally found in nature in our body and are proving to make predispositions that much worse.
Yeah, I really like hearing you talk about this. And I think that it's such a good encouragement also, Mama, that like if you are drinking that much Coke or sugars or not thinking about the sugars that you're just buying that are in your salad dressings and your ketchup and your snacks for your kids are watching you. And we talk often about the fact of you have the opportunity to instill generational health and generations way beyond yourself. Like we want our kids to grow up knowing that there's a different way to eat and drink than where our health is trending right now. Like you said, the scary part is that our health is not only getting worse, but it's rapidly getting worse in this younger generation. And so I'm curious to hear, I guess, like, in the future, you may not know even all this, but have y'all thought about how you might start to help parents with this, with their kids, and thinking about like sports drinks? And like, golly, when I look at the Gatorade bottles, I'm like, I want to die that this is like the quote unquote, like healthy drink we're bringing to soccer practice. Like, are you kidding me?
So the teas, our sweet teas that we're super excited about are out, are just an example. There is no product that is sweetened with sugar that we can't at least improve by 75% reduction without changing the taste, and probably in some cases up to 90%. And we're going to do that not just for our own products, but in partnership with companies that are making products that need what I call sugar rehabilitation. So please know we're at the very beginning. The biggest thing I can ask moms is try it out yourself, see if you like the taste, but then actually get on our list. We're going to be announcing which products we're rolling out. Some of them will be Oobli products. Some will be products you already know that maybe you're feeding your kids, and there's going to be a sweet protein powered version of that because we're working with several of those big companies, and we will be announcing those new products. And a lot of them are focused on families, kids, healthy living lifestyles, sports, because that's where we know the big demand is.
Hey, Mama, do you feel like you are surviving on chicken nuggets and goldfish and haven't stepped in a gym since college? Or maybe, on the other hand, you feel like you're checking every health box and are still hitting a brick wall? Well, I'm here to help you redefine what it means to be healthy from the inside out. I'm a former fitness instructor and everyday mom who is passionate about helping you create a beautiful life you freaking love. So I'm opening the doors to the Healthy by Heather Brown membership to the public and can't wait to walk alongside you and be your cheerleader. When you join, you'll be added to my exclusive Facebook group. You'll receive my Sunday Reset training that will help you create promising, sustainable, healthy choices from the inside out, which will in turn lead to a more joy-filled life for busy moms. Live coaching and workout classes with yours truly. You asked and I listened. We'll talk about how to balance your whole health when you have kids and life get busy with school and activities. It includes grocery haul ideas and accountability as we all reset together each Sunday. There will be so much offered that you won't find anywhere else on the internet. Are you ready to take one step out of stress, shame, unhealthy boundaries, and fatigue and add healthy rhythms to the Hot Mess Express? When you're ready, I'll see you on the other side of the link in the show notes. I'm excited and ready to hold your hand and meet face to face. Wow, that's really, really awesome to hear. I did note down when you were talking that, we don't often hear from our government or from, the FDA or any of these companies really that sugar is the problem. I feel like what we hear often is that salt is the problem or that fat is the problem. And so is there anything that you're seeing, especially being in California, where we're starting to work on changing that conversation as a culture about like, hello, it's the massive amounts of sugar that you're, like you were saying in studies, like if you look at the yogurt from 20 years ago, 10 years ago, it's completely different now.
It is. I don't know that I feel like any government bodies are getting there faster. And it's partly because the headline here, and this, is all of us think about how you're trying to parent, how you're trying to eat. It's not the sexy stuff that's the really good stuff. It's the moderation conversation, right? Because sugar as a crop in and of itself is not a bad thing. It's like fossil fuel. It's not a bad thing. We just need to use it differently. It wasn't intended to be used in a recklessly abundant way in our diets. And that is how we've modernized it. So the amounts are what the problem is, not the inherent. Small amount of anything, probably true in most parts of our diet, is fine. But that's not very sexy for most people to talk about, right? And it's really complicated when you start looking at how it's become pervasive in everything. So I think the big headlines I would say is it's consumers are going to lead this change, because if 40% of the population is struggling with obesity and on the path to diabetes, we don't feel very good. We're going to feel better, we have to actually acknowledge what one of the chief culprits here, and it's frankly having blood sugar crashes all day long and having a metabolic system feeling out of whack makes you not feel good. That's where we're going to have to challenge and say, actually, we're going to make choices here, even if it's complicated when we read nutrition fact panels. We can be better than this. And so yes. I think it's going to take a consumer swell. I really do. I don't know that we have the right controls in today's market. Now, that's speaking for the U.S., and I say this to you just because it's kind of an interesting perspective to know. Other countries that are different systems than ours are actually going after it at a government level, but it's typically through taxing companies.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, like in Latin America, if you go to an average grocery store in Mexico today, you're going to see almost like skull and bones stickers on most products for the amount of sugar. They make them label them. And the reason for that is they have the same issue we do in the U.S. Think about it for a minute. Pretend that we're not just trying to have everybody live better and feel better. Just think of this healthcare cost. Just think of the cost of this crisis of 40% of the people being suboptimal health from a weight and a pre-diabetic level. That's a really expensive healthcare problem. In a lot of those countries where they have kind of not federal state systems, right, where complicated changes to regulation, but they can use tax structures, they're taxing it in parts of Asia to say, we actually have to tax companies to make this change. Here, we're saying, hey, we really want to follow where the consumer demand is. Well, consumer demand has to get through policy regulation that's federal and state. So I think that creates a mandate even more for consumers, particularly things like moms and advocacies around our kids, to have a big voice that I don't want anybody to hate sugar. I actually think sugar and sweets are a good part of life, but the amounts we're consuming are dangerous and they're counterproductive to feeling good. And that we have to take a position on.
Yes, agree. And I think that one of the takeaways here that I think that moms can take from this is that, again, it doesn't have to be an all or nothing approach. We talk about habit stacking on here often. One thing that we have started to incorporate with our boys is, and this goes in, and I'm just going to give a practical example. We allow our boys pretty much to use their iPads on the weekends. So that is when they're allowed to have a device that they're playing with. It's not just the television or something, because that's one way that we feel like it's very clear cut. I'm not going to be bugged all day, Monday through Friday, about the iPad. They just know, like, that is a rule in our home. And then it's the same way with sugar. They pretty much know that once they've had a Gatorade, not to ask, or a Sustain. A Sustain is from the Wellness Box. You guys have heard me talk about it on Instagram stories. It has less sugar in it. It's a sports drink with electrolytes, minerals, those kind of things, and it's still for my boys. Once they've had one, don't ask for a second sugar drink. You had your one. And so now you're done with that. And then also, like, you can either get a treat pretty much after lunch or after dinner. It's not both. So we're still it's allowed. You can have it. You can have the good thing. And like you said, it's like sugar at baseline. Like God created our body to crave sugar. And guess where, though, he intended us to get it? From something naturally occurring in fruits. So when your body is craving sugar and you feel it, don't just feel like you have to reach for the Coke or you have to reach for the Snickers bar. It's okay to get a piece of fruit and then see how you feel. Do you feel better? Do you actually have more energy? Or can you like then be reminded to get protein with it, because then the protein's going to help balance your blood sugar? There's just so many little tweaks we can make. That's not saying like take away all sugar forever. No, that's not what we're saying here. We're saying that there is a middle ground.
That's such great advice, and that's exactly the right way to think. From a Oobli and a sweet protein perspective, I say, and start to be on the lookout for sweet proteins. Proteins as a pathway to sweetness can really help you with that, so you can make more of those choices. And I was going to share with you that last week I was speaking with a business school in the country, and so it's the non-parent, right? What are all these young 20-somethings who don't have kids asking me, and they're like, well, we get too much of our sugar through alcohol. And it's really the same principles that we say to our kids, which is exactly what you're doing, Heather, which is great as a parent, is put rules around it. So I said to them, so if you're going to have a glass of alcohol, then make sure you have a glass of water after it. Have a full 8 to 10 ounce before you have another one.
Yes.
Like if you don't want to put a rule on it, and we can't take it and say you only get it on the weekends like we can an iPad for our kids,
right,
then at least create structures that get your satiation. Don't confuse getting your hydration with that. You can enjoy a cocktail, but it is loaded with sugar. Be aware of that. Absolutely. Right? Sugar is a culprit, and it is running through our whole modern food system today. So we think the teas, as a note, are a really fun for kids and for adults mocktail solution.
There you go.
And so really great mixers. You can see actually on our Instagram, a ton of our users that are focused on sugar reduction but loving a great sweet tea are out sharing mocktail recipes all the time, which we think is really
fun. Yeah, I really like that. I did want to, I like sometimes get ahead of myself, and I'm like, Heather, you really have to go back and break it down sometimes too. Okay. So I just had this conversation on a prior podcast, and the lady was like, so is it okay to eat she was like, I just feel like even the dried fruits and the trail mixes and stuff, like those still have so much sugar. And I was like, well, whoa, hold on. So let's have a little education lesson here, I guess. When you guys take any product that you get, whether it's granola or the yogurt that we keep talking about, or whether it's the dried fruit, or whether it's dried fruit in a trail mix, turn the label over, look at the back, and you're going to see that it says sugars on one line. You could read that. Great. Okay. But then look right below it. That's the number you're worried about, where it says included. It doesn't say added sugar.
Added sugar.
That's what you're worried about. So if you see where it says added sugar 0, but maybe over where it says like up above it, the total sugars is, whatever it is, 5, 10, whatever.
Right.
That is not a problem because it's naturally occurring. So your big red flag goes off when you're like, wait, why are there 20 added grams of sugar in this yogurt cup?
Right. And I would add to that, that's good advice. And I would add to that is, this is where you hear a lot of people talking about the role of fiber, right? If you're eating a fruit, you're eating it with fiber. So like one of the things I'm really proud about is we also have chocolate bars out. Anybody loves dark chocolate, you can get chocolate bars on our site too. And they are 75% reduced chocolate or sugar. You would never know it. We just replaced it with sweet proteins. But they're also a third of your daily fiber, because the way we take the weight of sugar, half of a chocolate bar is actually sugar, we put acacia fiber in. And so if you're balancing that with putting more fiber in, you're giving your body the tools for the metabolic function. Because remember, you said this really well, Heather, we were biologically designed to crave sugar, but we used to get it in the forms of things like, carrots, tubers and roots from the garden, right? Well, think about those. Those are fiber rich, in addition to being sweet. So that helps your body digest those. That's also partly how it minimizes the metabolic disruption. So you can look at kind of that part too when you're looking at that nutrition fact panel. And I think you're onto the exact right advice.
Awesome. Well, thank you for sharing that, Allie. And now I'm like, wait, I got to go get the chocolate bars. I'm like, what? That sounds amazing. So Allie, as we wrap up here, is there anything you want to share just as an encouragement to mamas before we sign off here, and also just tell them one more time where they can find you? And then I'll put links to everything that you've discussed here in our show notes as well.
I just love, and I want to encourage everybody to be, not be apologetic about loving sweets. We all do. Let go of the guilt. Just be educated about it and look at some of these tricks and tips for how to make it quick and easy. You don't need another thing that wears you out as a parent, but you do need to be paying attention here. And our kids need us too, because our kids are not as healthy as the populations in the past. And we know, and all the scientists agree, a critical piece of that problem is sugar. And all you're really doing is trying to change the amounts that are going on in their diets. And you have all the tools to do it. And hopefully you can make it fun by reducing it, thinking of the games like Nutrition Fact Panel, and then looking for sweet proteins. There's more to come. Looking for us, please check us out at Oobli.com. Sign up to be in the know. If you want to get smarter about this, we have really cool scientific advisory boards producing great content on this topic. Don't believe us, go read and listen to what everybody else says. And we put our products out there right now. Consumers should know you can actually get a free 6-pack from us of our sweet teas. Try it for yourself. All you have to do is visit Oobli.com. And what we ask is you listen to an educational video about understanding sugars and sugar alternatives and proteins in your body. It's about 3 to 6 minutes, depending on which video you get. And if you listen to it, we send you a 6-pack for free and hope that you'll start to pass on the education.
Oh, that's awesome. Well, we'll definitely put a link to that in the show notes so you guys can check it out. So when you're done listening to this episode, just scroll down, click that link, and you guys can try out Oobli that we've been talking about for free today. But Allie, it was a joy to have you. Thank you so much for coming on.
Thank you for having me. It was great. Appreciate the dialogue.
Of course, same here. So you guys, as I sign off, I do want to challenge you to screenshot this episode, share it on your Instagram story, share it on Facebook, tag Oobli, tag me. Let us know if you give up Cokes for a little bit, or even take a picture of your Oobli you get in, post it to your social media and tell us like, switch from, Coke to Oobli today. And then let this knowledge not stop with me and Allie. We want you to spread it out there, because then you're going to make people question their sugar and their Coke that day. That's like a huge little seed that now can spread like wildfire. So we just want to encourage you in your health and mind, body, and spirit. So grateful that you tuned in today, and I will see you next Tuesday.